Welcome back to Investing Talk Podcast. Today we're taking a close look at Gibraltar Industries, ticker symbol ROCK. And we're asking that key question really, is now a good time to buy, hold, or maybe accumulate the stock? We've gathered, well, quite a bit of recent info, earnings data, technical signals, some forward-looking catalysts too. We want to get the full picture, especially since the company had, kind of muted Q2 results. But there's anticipation around institutional tailwinds, especially in areas like infrastructure and renewables. Before we jump in, please do subscribe, like, and comment on this review. And hey, if there's a specific company you want us to look into next time, just drop it in the comments below.
Yeah, Gibraltar is an interesting one. It operates in these pretty essential engineering-heavy sectors. Think renewables, ag tech, building products. So it's a recent journey going from a bit of a short-term disappointment to, well, what looks like growing long-term conviction. It makes for a really fascinating case study for any investor, I think.
Okay, so let's start where that recent wobble began. The Q2 results back in August 2025. Now, on paper, revenue growth looked decent.
It did, yeah. The sources we looked at confirm positive year-over-year revenue growth, 13%, which, in this environment, that's pretty strong.
Right. But 13% wasn't quite enough for Wall Street, was it?
Mm-hmm.
The actual earnings, the sales numbers, they lagged the consensus estimates. And we often see that, don't we? The market punishes that pretty hard. There was a brief stock downturn right after that August release.
That's a typical playbook, sure. But what's really interesting here, I think, is how quickly the market sort of forgave that Q2 miss. You didn't see analysts scrambling to slash their estimate.
Okay, but they missed consensus. Why didn't the analysts panic? Was there one big reason they held back?
Well, it seems they look beyond just the immediate numbers. They focus more on the guidance Gibraltar gave and its underlying strategic position. So by September, analyst coverage had pretty much stabilized. Consensus EPS forecasts for Q3, they settled right around $1.22 per share. That kind of stability suggests the revenue miss was seen more as maybe a temporary blip timing, cost fluctuations, not some fundamental flaw in the business itself.
So the commentary started turning bullish quite quickly then, suggesting there's this underlying confidence in the long-term story.
Exactly. The whole narrative shifted. Analysts started highlighting the company's position in those core markets, infrastructure, specialized agriculture, ag tech. They seem to be betting that management strategic moves will drive stronger performance by year end. Basically, they shrugged off the Q2 hiccup because the bigger picture still looked intact. That consensus view, that's a strong signal.
Right, and that conviction needs solid fundamentals underneath it. Let's turn there. Our sources do point out that 2024 revenue saw a bit of a dip, came in at $1.31 billion. That was down about 5% from 2023.
Yeah, and if you only looked at that annual number, you might be a bit concerned. But if you check the trailing 12-month revenue, the TTM figure, it's actually climbed back up to $1.35 billion. That little uptick shows some recent resilience,
Okay, how did they manage that resilience? Was it a specific segment driving that recovery? Does it suggest management's kind of navigating this macro uncertainty effectively?
It seems so. The sources credit their performance in those core specialized segments. They're leveraging long-term contracts, particularly in infrastructure. And that shift, it's showing up on the bottom line, too. TTM net income is pretty solid at $127.32 million. That translates to a TTM EPS of $4.18. But the real story, the reason the market seems willing to stick with ROCK despite Q2, it's all about margin expansion.
Okay, let's break that down. Why is that so critical here?
Well, look at the net margin. It was 10.49% in 2024. Analysts are estimating it'll nudge up to 11.01% in 2025. That's good, definitely positive. But the real jump is in operational profitability. The EBITDA margin forecast, that's expected to jump quite significantly, from 14.76% in 2024 to an estimated 18.03% in 2025.
Wow, okay, that's almost, 330 basis points of operational margin expansion in just 1 year?
Yeah.
Is that mostly cost-cutting, or is it more about operational leverage, maybe better pricing in those specialized markets?
It's probably a mix, right? But a jump that big suggests significant operational leverage. They're likely capitalizing on scale as they integrate acquisitions, optimize production, especially in ag tech and renewables. That kind of margin improvement, that's what gets institutional investors interested. It helps justify potentially a higher valuation multiple down the road.
Got it. So even if revenue slowed a bit recently, the profitability engine is actually getting stronger, much stronger. Analysts are looking for $4.80 in EPS for 2025. That's about 7.6% year-over-year growth. Pretty solid execution. And this comes after what? A historical compound annual EPS growth rate of 23%.
Impressive.
Which brings us neatly to valuation. This is key for you, the listener, asking if now is the time to buy. If they've historically grown EPS by 23% a year, why is the valuation only, well, moderate?
Yeah, that's the aha moment right there.
Precisely. Their forward price-to-earnings ratio is sitting around 14.54. EV to sales is 1.32. Now, compared to others in the industrial and specialized construction space, that suggests the stock is, well, reasonably priced, not dirt cheap, not expensive. The market's probably giving them that moderate multiple because of the cyclical nature of their end markets, right? It's not fully convinced they can keep up that 23% growth forever, but it seems priced about right for the forecasted margin growth and that 7.6% EPS bump. There's definitely potential for the multiple to expand if they keep executing.
Okay, so that long-term confidence really hinges on these expanding margins and executing well. So we need to look at the calendar. What upcoming events could either, confirm this thesis or maybe throw a wrench in the works? The next few months look pretty packed.
They really do. We've got 3 key dates coming up that could definitely influence sentiment and momentum in the near term.
First one up, October 7th, 2025. Anticipated ETF rebalancing. What's the significance there?
This is purely a technical sort of market flow event. For a stock like Gibraltar, getting included or maybe excluded from major infrastructure or industrial ETFs, that can mechanically affect short-term liquidity. It's not about the company's fundamentals directly, but it can definitely stir up volatility and influence short-term trading.
Okay, then we skip ahead to November 27th, 2025. Institutional portfolio disclosures are due.
Right. And this one arguably is more important for confirming that conviction we were talking about earlier. This is when we actually see if the big money managers, the institutions, are putting their cash behind this margin expansion story. Major buys or, conversely, big reductions revealed here could really inject momentum or drag into the stock price heading towards the end of the year.
And then the big one, the final exam for management, maybe, December 2nd, 2025. The Q3 2025 earnings release.
That's the one. That's the date the market's waiting for. They want confirmation of that margin recovery story, hitting that $1.22 EPS consensus. If Gibraltar delivers on the margin improvement, the stock will likely get rewarded, almost regardless of broader market noise.
All right, let's layer on the technical picture now. That needs to align with the fundamental story, ideally. Recent price, mid-September, was $64 to $75. Kind of near the midpoint of its 52-week range, which is roughly $49 to 75 cents. Our sources mentioned a potentially positive technical setup, including something called a golden star signal. Sounds promising.
Yeah, technically, the underlying trend does look positive. It's supported by key moving averages, which is always a good sign. That golden star signal basically points to a strong bullish convergence, specifically the 50-day moving average crossing above the 200-day moving average. It's a classic technical indicator suggesting upward momentum might be building for the longer term.
Okay, sounds like a flashing green light. But hang on, there are 2 pretty important cautionary signals here too, right? Things you need to be aware of before jumping in.
Definitely. The first is that recent technical ratings were actually downgraded slightly from strong buy down to hold accumulate. That's mainly due to the expected near-term volatility around these upcoming dates we just discussed. Analysts are essentially saying, look, the story's good, but maybe wait for that Q3 confirmation before going all in. And the second warning, probably the most critical one, is the stock's beta. It's 1.32.
Okay, for our listener, unpack that. A beta of 1.32.
Yeah.
What does that practically mean, especially with these upcoming events?
It means the stock is expected to be significantly more volatile than the overall market. So if the S&P 500 moves up or down by 1%, Gibraltar's stock is likely to move about 1.32% in the same direction. Heading into potentially market-moving news like earnings or those institutional disclosures, this amplified volatility just means higher risk. If the broader market takes a hit, ROCK will probably fall harder and faster than average. It's definitely not a defensive stock.
Right, crucial point. So you have to balance that technical optimism with the core risks, especially given that high beta.
Absolutely. Gibraltar's revenue is concentrated in areas like residential construction, renewables. These are inherently cyclical markets. They're very sensitive to the macroeconomy and maybe most importantly right now, interest rates. If higher rates cause delays in new infrastructure projects or big solar installations, that revenue pipeline could slow down pretty quickly.
And those input costs, they're always a potential threat to that nice margin expansion story we talked about.
Exactly. Steel prices, for example, volatility there, or any ongoing supply chain hiccups, they pose a very real risk to hitting those ambitious 2025 margin targets. Even if management executes brilliantly on the operational side, A sudden spike in steel could wipe out a chunk of that forecasted EBITDA growth. And of course, there's always execution risk with integrating acquisitions or pushing into new markets.
Okay, but on the flip side, the sources also mention some interesting what-ifs kind of swirling around. Potential speculative tailwinds beyond just the core margin story.
Yeah, this is where you look for signals of management confidence. There are rumors, for instance, about potential small bolt-on acquisitions, maybe in ag tech or infrastructure, just to diversify the portfolio a bit more. Management might see the current valuation as a chance to pick up some specialized assets relatively cheaply.
What about trimming the fat? Any talk of optimization?
There's some speculation about potentially divesting underperforming, maybe non-core product lines. That could streamline things, free up capital, and directly help hit those margin targets by cutting costs. But probably the most direct signal of confidence in future cash flow would be if they announced an expanded share buyback program. Analysts are speculating about that too. That kind of move immediately reduces the share count, boosts EPS, and makes the valuation look even better. Big confidence signal.
Okay, that's a lot of moving parts, isn't it? Solid fundamentals but risks, technical signals but high beta, some speculation. When you look at the analyst consensus overall, how do they boil all this complexity down?
Well, despite the complexities, the overall sentiment remains pretty positive. It seems almost entirely based on that forward-looking margin improvement thesis. We're seeing 8 analysts recommending buy, just 1 recommending hold, and interestingly, 0 recommending sell. That kind of near unanimity is pretty rare and signals strong conviction, despite the risks.
All right, let's try and bring this all home then. Synthesize these facts into a final rating. Based purely on the source material we reviewed, our overall assessment lands at a 7.0 out of 10.
Yeah, and that favorable rating, it really comes down to the improving margins, the solid EPS momentum, that moderate valuation, and the overwhelmingly positive analyst view kind of outweighing the temporary revenue slowdown and those cyclical risks we discussed.
Okay, but I have to push back a little on that 7.0. Given the clear cyclical risks and that high bait 1.32, why isn't the rating maybe a bit lower? Doesn't that risk of short-term loss kind of counteract the moderate valuation?
That's a fair challenge, and it really comes down to your investment horizon, doesn't it? The rating is driven by what that EBITDA expansion implies, potentially a long-term improvement in the quality of the business. So if you're looking out 2-3 years or more, that 7.0 rating makes more sense because those secular tailwinds in renewables and infrastructure, they're quite powerful structural supports.
So how should you, the listener, think about approaching this stock then, based on those different time frames, short-term versus long-term?
For short-term trading, honestly, it's probably only suitable for experienced traders who understand and are comfortable with that volatility, especially around that crucial December Q3 earnings date. You need to be ready for potentially big swings. Now, for the longer term, it does look reasonably attractive. You've got those strong secular trends, the potential for steady margin improvement, but, and this is important, a watchful approach is definitely needed. If you're interested in accumulating shares for the long haul, you might look for opportunities during market pullbacks, maybe driven by macro fears or commodity price spikes, knowing that the high beta will likely amplify those temporary dips. It could offer better entry points. Ultimately, connecting it all, the main things driving Gibraltar's stock performance from here will be sustained earnings momentum, proving they can deliver, and successful execution on their strategic plans, whether that's acquisitions, divestitures, whatever, in infrastructure and ag tech. That next Q3 report in December. That's the market's big confirmation point for this whole investment thesis. It's crucial.
So this raises a really important question for you, the listener, to think about. Given that strong technical signal, the golden star, but also that significant macro volatility risk shown by the 1.32 beta, how heavily would you weigh those long-term secular growth trends versus the very real near-term cyclical risks in your own investment framework? Something to consider. Thank you for tuning into this review. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and definitely share your thoughts or questions in the comments below.